Good evening. I hope you are fine. I'm here to take you through for the tools in InDesign. And the reason why we design using InDesign is because some of our documents are multi-page documents or documents more than one page. Like examples, you have the flyers, you have the magazines, you have the textbooks, you also have the newspapers. Those ones, they do have pages that are more than one, and you cannot use Photoshop to edit some of those documents or some of those projects. That's why we have InDesign. And also, once you have designed your work in Illustrator and also in Photoshop, you can bring them back to InDesign so that you can have also that you can arrange them. You can arrange both your text at the same time your photos to be in line so that your pages do appear like they are professional and also they can be used elsewhere. So today I'm here to take you through some of the tools that we use in InDesign. At the top we have the menu bar just like Photoshop and Illustrator. Also in InDesign we do have some of these that also will help us. Then you note the difference that some of the tools here are also the tools we had in Illustrator and we had in Photoshop. So just below it, you also have the options bar, and with the options bar, the tools that you're using currently appear at the options bar that is just below the menu bar. On the left hand side, we have the toolbar or the toolbox, and this is where we have all your tools that you are using for InDesign. And also on your left hand side, you have other panel like the stroke. If you want to change the stroke, you want to change the color, you also want to use the swatches, and maybe alter your pages and also your layers. So some of this you're going to use them. So to begin, I would show you how to open a file in InDesign. So if you want to open or to, let's say, have a document in InDesign so that you can work or you can edit your work or you can bring in or you can import what you have edited using Photoshop and Illustrator, then you go to File, and then you after clicking new, we have the document, we have a book, we have a folder, we have a library. So for now, we're going to use a document. Then the window pops up where you can also give specifications on what you want in your document. So on the first document presets, you can customize. Then what is your intention? What are you designing? Are you designing for print or for web or maybe for publishing? So if you are designing your work for print, then you can click print. If you're going to use it for a website, then you can also click web. Then how many pages are you going to work with? That will depend on the document that you're working. If it's a book, definitely a book may be more than one page. So depending on the specifications you're being given or some of the requirements for your project, then you can specify the number of pages you want to work with. So let's assume you want to work with 3 pages, and then with the pages, do you want those pages to face each other or you want to be independent? So you can also tick here if you want the pages to face each other. And then how do you want to begin? How do you want your pages to begin? Is it from the first page or from the third page or from the second page? For instance, for us, we're going to begin from the first page. And then the page size. Is it an A4? Is it a letter? Or what are you designing? So you also specify the measurements. Here with the width and the height, you don't alter the measurements. Like I said before, if you're going to print, then you don't alter with the measurements. You just leave it as that because it's already measured. And then your orientation. How do you want your document to appear? Is it like a portrait or to appear like a business card? So you can also choose the specifications from here. How many columns do you want to work with? Is it 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, and or more than that? So you can also specify the number of columns you want to work with. Then you can give the spacing between the gutters. You can specify, don't give again too much spacing because between the columns there should be a space. Then you give like just the one that is appropriate for your work. The margins, the spacing now between the margins. You have the top, you have the bottom, you have the left hand side of your page, you have the right hand side of your page. You can also give its measurements so that whatever is behind or whatever is beyond that cannot be printed. So anything that is within margins or anything that is within the measurements you have given, then it's not going to be left behind. And then you click OK. Now our document will be open. Then we see how it appears. Our page, we have 3 pages and 3 columns. So once it opens, we begin using some of these tools so that you can see here on your left hand side and also on your right hand side. So if you click on each menu, that is at the top, you have the menu bar. For instance, the file. This enables you to open a new file, also to open some documents maybe you had opened or you had worked on earlier on and you want to continue working on them. So it gives you this option of opening that file. Then also you can close from the file menu. You can also save if you had maybe saved earlier on. You can keep on saving your work because you know what happens when you don't save your work. You can also save this if you're saving for the first time and you save under its file extension .a.indd, that is for the InDesign. On the second, this is under edit. You can undo your work, you can redo, you can cut, you can copy, you can paste, and all the other options that you are given just below it. We also have the page layout. With these ones, it gives you also how you want your layout to appear, how you want your pages to appear. And then under the type, now since this is a multi-page document, this means that you're going to work on text most of the time, like a newspaper. Most of our newspapers do contain a lot of text or a lot of wording. Our books do have a lot of wordings, and you know that text really passes information. And if that text is not arranged in a in um, in a logical way, then it may not have a meaning at the end. So with this type, you can change the family, the one that maybe you find it suits your document. You can also change the size, like you want to make it bigger, to make it smaller, depending on whether it's a headline, it's a subheading, or it's just the rest of the text. You can also change the character, and this is the keyboard shortcut for the character, Control+T. And then the paragraphing also, you can change from here, and many other options that were given here. So you see, if you compare with Illustrator and Photoshop, InDesign gives you many options on how you can edit your text. With the object, you can transform your object, you can scale it, you can rotate to the degrees that maybe you feel like is okay for you. And then you can arrange also, that is, you can bring in front, you can bring to front, that is maybe if you feel like what is behind should be brought in front. You can also take back what is in front. So you're given all these options where you can choose from. With the other menu, which is window is important like the other softwares. So if you find like some of these tools cannot be seen on your page, like this one, you can always check in. Like now, if I click on it, then our tools disappear or they just get lost. So if you want to bring them back, you just click on window and you drop down or scroll down until where you have the tools, and then you bring them back. Just like layers, also you should be working with the layers. Layers are very important because if you edit your work using the layers, that is the individual objects or individual images or individual work, then it makes your work easier. But if you work with only one layer, then it will make your work difficult. So we begin with the first tool. We have the first tool, which is almost similar to the second tool. So the first tool, which is the selection tool, and it has a black arrow, is different from the one with the white arrow. So the selection tool will only help you to move your object. Let me just draw a shape here. So the work of the selection tool will help you to move around your object. Like you want to move it up and down. It helps you to select the object and move it. Like this, you can move it up and down, to the bottom, right, left. Then also the other work of the selection tool is it helps you to rotate your object. Like you can see, I can rotate my object. And then also it helps you to resize. It helps you to resize your object. Like if you want to make it appear big, and then that's the work of the selection tool. It makes it appear bigger, but it does not change the shape of your object, or it does not alter, it does not edit your shape. It will still remain the same. The only difference is that it resizes it. Then we have the second tool, which is the direct selection tool. The difference is the direct selection tool has anchor points, and these anchor points changes the shape, or it helps you to edit your shape, uh, unlike the selection tool. So with the direct selection tool, you can change your shape, like let me add some anchor points here. So I can change this shape here using the direct selection tool. Okay, let me draw another shape with the polygon tool. And then I use my direct selection tool with this. So it changes your shape, and this can help you to form some shapes that maybe you may not get, or that are not customized. So you can always use this to change your shape. That is the direct selection tool. So the difference between the one with the black arrow and the one with the white arrow is that the selection tool, once you just point at it, it shows or it indicates that this is a selection tool. So it helps you to move around with your object, to select your object, and then you can move around with it, like you can see here. And then you can rotate the object or the shape, or even text, not necessarily a shape. And then you can resize it. You can make it bigger, or you can make it smaller. Compared to the direct selection will change the shape. It will edit your shape, like you can see here. I can edit this shape to even an unknown shape. I can just come up with an imaginary, or a shape that I can just imagine what it could be. Then we move on to the other tool, which is the page tool. The page tool will help you to play with your pages, like how many pages do you have. So look at your right hand side, we have 3 pages. So you can always delete the first page. Like if you come here, you can delete the first page, and this is asking whether you want to delete it. You can also create, or you can add on a new page, like you've already added on another page. Now we have 4 pages, and then you can select the current page that you want to work on. If you want the second page, then this is the second page. If you want the first page, then you can always select the first page. If you want the fourth page, you can select from here, and ours is selected. So you can work around, or you can play around with the pages so that you can add on, you can delete, you can go to specific pages. And this is especially when you have so many pages, like you cannot scroll down, but you can go to specific page. So you come to the page setup, and this should help you, the page tool should help you to do what you want to do with the pages. Then we have the other tool, which is the line tool. The line tool may help you, especially when you want to draw let's say a border within text, or you just want to use it elsewhere. And with this one, you can just even increase its length, not the length, but its heaviness, that is the weight. And if you want to really have a straight line, you hold on your shift key as you draw your line segments, And with this one, you can just form uh, a shape, or you can just use it to maybe divide a given area. So the line tool will help you. Then we have the text. Text is very important because remember that InDesign works with a multi-page document, and these are documents with more than one page. It can be a flyer, it can be a magazine, it can be a newspaper, or it can be a textbook, or even a storybook. I think that's in form of a textbook. So most of the time you'll be working with the text, and that's why InDesign gives you many options on how you can change your text to appear to look good, to appear clear, which Illustrator and Photoshop didn't give you, or you didn't get some of those features in the other software or the other tools. So if you want to type some text here, it may not be direct like InDesign, like Photoshop and Illustrator. So you have to draw a shape. You have to draw a text box where you can now input your text, or you can take your text. So like let's say PowerPoint presentation. So with the PowerPoint presentation, you have all the options in your options bar on how you can change this text. But for now, I want to have, let's say, a paragraph so that you can see the difference or some of the features that InDesign do give us. So I can just open our document. Let me copy these wordings here. And maybe paste here. Yeah, so we have our text here. So we can play with this text, though this one looks smaller. So let me open another document there, and we only work with one column so that it can be clear, and it also makes our work easier. So we want to work with only one column and only one page, or maybe 2 pages. We say 2 pages, but only one column. Okay. Yes, so we have it. So if you want to work with your text tool, your type tool, you click your type tool, then you draw a box where you want to have your text. Then you can type, or you can paste and edit. So we have our text here. So with this text here, it appears smaller. So we want to increase the size of this text. So let's say to 24. 24 is so big, so you can reduce again to 18. 18 is somehow better. Now, if you look at the options bar, you're given some other options, like you want to capitalize your work. So if you click there, it capitalizes your work. If you want to change to small caps, you can still apply this. So it changes to small caps or to lower case or to small letters. And then with this one, the superscript, only if you want to raise maybe some letters or some numbers. Let me use an example. This character D, I want to raise that character D. So you see that character D has been raised. So let me increase the size so that it's clear. Yeah, I'm trying to twist and nudge so that it's clear. Okay. Okay, so we have also the subscript. This is the opposite of superscript. So if you want to maybe lower a letter, you can also click that, then it lowers. Then again, if you want to underline some, let's say the heading, you can also do that where you have these options here. Then again, if you want to strike through, you want to strike through, then meaning you can cross some text, maybe for emphasis, that you're also given that option. Then also the spacing between the wordings, or the spacing between the lines, you're also given that option. You can increase or you can decrease. Like if you can see what's happening here. And also we have the other one, moving downwards. Yeah, so all these options you can play along with until you get your desired features. Then you can also change the color of your text if you want to maybe have a different color, especially for emphasis. You can always change the color for the text. Then with the alignment, you can align your text on the left. That is if you want to just have your text aligned on the left. If you want to center, this is what happens. Is it easy for you to read when the text is centered? It may be difficult, but if you're using for maybe for adverts or just for entertainment, you can do that. But if it's a book, and then it may be hard for a reader to follow the different lines and even the paragraphs. If you want to align your text on the right, what happens? You see what happens to the text. So the reader may get confused because he or she do not know where the line begins from. So this is some of the effects that really changes your text. Then if you use also, like if you want to justify, this makes your text look uh, uniform, and also it's easy for the reader to go through. So these are some of the options you're given for the text. Moving on to the other tool, we have the pen tool. The pen tool will help you to draw some shapes, like you just click, yeah. So make sure you've selected the pen tool, and remember under the pen tool, you also have some more options, like you can add on anchor points, you can delete anchor points. If you add on anchor points, that means you want to maybe extend your shape. If you want to delete the anchor points, it's you want to reduce maybe part of that shape. So let's draw a shape here, and just click there, and then you can hold on your shift key, and then you can just draw a shape. um, yeah, you can just come up with the shape using the pen tool. You can also add on fill color. Yeah, but most of the time we use default color because if you add on the fill color, it may confuse you when you are coming up with your shapes, like this one. I want to add on another shape here. May be difficult. May be difficult for me. When we have a fill color. But if you're working on our default color, which is black and white, then it's easy for you to draw with the shapes. You can see here, maybe difficult. Then you also have another tool, but with the pen tool, it takes time for you to learn how to use this pen tool to come up with shapes. You can add on anchor points. You can delete the anchor points. Like if I delete the anchor points and should be on a path, then it changes your shape automatically. So you can keep on practicing how to use the pen tool because you design shapes that maybe you may not find elsewhere. You can also use your pencil tool. Pencil tool helps you to sketch your work. And the more you redraw, the more your, your sketch tool becomes smooth by redrawing and redrawing until you feel like it's not okay for you. So you can just redraw until you come up with a perfect either letter or shape. You can also use a smooth tool to smoothen your what you had sketched before or to make it smooth. You can also use the erase tool to get rid of maybe where you do not want or you feel like it's unwanted. You can use that. You can use the erase tool to get rid of that. Then the other tool we have the shapes. With the shapes, you can always draw the shapes. You can use the fill color, default color, and there's you have you have different options on how you can draw your shapes. You can also fill your shapes with different colors. Then we have the other tool, the gradient tool. The gradient tool changes your color, the direction of your colors. If I draw a shape here and I select my gradient tool, and for the gradient tool, so the color mixtures will follow the direction of your gradient or the direction of which you have selected. So it can move either from the top, from the bottom. It can move from the top, from the bottom, and see that the gradient is changing depending on the direction that you specify. If I draw another shape, let's say the rectangular shape, then it also changes on maybe how I want my gradients to maybe follow that. So it also changes with the direction in which I give or I specify. Yeah, just like that. And you can change its color also up here. Okay, then we move on to the other tool. Okay, so we move on to the other tool that we given. We have the eyedropper tool. So just like the other tools that we saw before, the eyedropper tool will always carry on. It's like a sample. It's picking colors from. It's using the samples that you have specified. So we can choose another color, let's say this color. So the eyedropper will pick this color, like you choose. Once you click here, it's indicated on where you can swap your fill color and your stroke color. So if you draw another shape, then that is the color that's going to apply to the current shape that we shall draw it here, like here. Then if we pick black, let's pick a black with our eyedropper. So you see it's selecting the gray color, which is also applied on this text. If you pick this one, no, it's applying to that one. What is selected is applied on the current one. So if you change the color, like the gray one, you want to change to a different color. Um, let's use this color. So the shape that we shall come up with, a different shape, will take that color. If our eyedropper picks this color, then it's going to apply on that specific tool. So we are using eyedropper to pick our color samples from the current selection. So you can pick color from a given area and apply it elsewhere using the eyedropper. Then we have the other tool. The very important tool is the rectangular frame tool. This is what I was looking for. The rectangular frame tool is very important. Why is it important? It's because it helps us to um, it it helps us to import our photos and have them in InDesign, unlike the other tools. So what happens is I'm trying to rearrange this so that you can have photos here. So you use your rectangular frame tool to import your photos. Depending on the size that you have selected, this is where our photo shall appear. So you go to File, then you locate where your photo is. Once you have located it, since you have already identified where you want your photo to be, then you can now locate and you open it. For instance, you want to bring our photos from the desktop. So you want to identify some reasons that they look like. Okay, you can't see this. Okay, I don't know why I can't identify any of the photos here. So let me, okay, I can't locate any. Let me look for them where they are. Okay, let's place. Then maybe it's another option on how you can maybe open your photos. So you want to place this one so you can open. So once it's pasted here, like it's fitting the whole area, you can also change, like if you find it's not fitting the whole area, you can hold on or you can press your control key and try to move around with this eye. Like you can see, maybe you want to focus on maybe the eye. So make sure you have hold down or your control key is held down, and then you move along, like our focus is on the eye here. So that is how our photo is imported here. So another option also, let's say you want to import a bigger photo than that one or a larger one that can occupy a big space. Let's work on this other area. So you just go to file, then you place. But first, just did a mistake. You have to identify where you want to place our image. So you look for the rectangle frame tool. You identify where you want your photo to appear, like here. Then you go to file, place, locate, then you identify. So let me look for one, maybe that's bigger than that space, and then you can see where our focus shall be. So like this. Yeah. So what happens is hold on your control key and then you try to click because you want to focus on maybe the face. That is where our focus is. So we have bring another one again. And identify again. So you place, you go to file and then place. Maybe this one. Okay, so our focus is on the face, so you only want to see the upper part. So you hold on your control key and then until this icon appears like an eye, then you move around with it. Like you just move around with it until you have your focus area or where you want to focus in. You can also change the measurements up there. If you feel like you can change, you can still change the measurements that you're given above. So if you don't hold on your control key, the whole image is going to move up and down. Like here, we just want this area only. Yeah. Then you can arrange or you can just make sure that your focus is where you want. Then what I also want to show you is maybe how you to use some of the rulers here to arrange your work or to make sure that your work is in line. So you can use your rulers as a guide or that will guide you when you are designing your work. Like this one, maybe you want it to be in line with this other one, like to be in the same line horizontally. So you can just drop your ruler or you can just ensure that you scroll or you drop your ruler there and then I can push this one up somehow until to be in line with the other one. So they're now in one line. You can, if you don't find these rulers, you can press R, Control plus R. Then once I press Control plus R, then they disappear. But now, since I have them, then I don't need to click Control plus R. Then you can also drop as many as you can. These rulers will not appear on your final printout. So you can also drop from your left-hand side, like you can drag from your right-hand side, the middle. They should only help you to divide the pages. If I want maybe this one to appear on this portion here, then this ruler should help me like that. And then I can have another photo on this other end here. So the work of the rulers is to just guide you as you design your work. So these are the tools that you can use to edit your multi-page documents. If it's, let's say, a book, a newspaper, or a magazine, or a flyer, brochures, then you can use InDesign. Is good for those particular documents, anything more than one page. InDesign is really interesting because they give you several options, and they do have also many features that Illustrator and Photoshop do not have. Then after finalizing your work, what do you do? Um, but also before finalizing your work, you can see here where we have fill color, our fill color and our stroke color. So here you can swap anytime. Like the difference is you have the fill color. The fill color is what fills your shape, the color that fills your shape like this one. But the stroke color appears like, I hope you can see what is behind. I'm trying to check, it's what is behind this. So let me change the stroke color. So the stroke color, like you can see, it's the outline, it's the border, or it's the what appears on the edges. So you can always change its size. You can increase when you come here with the stroke. You can increase the weight so that you can see what is on the edges. Let me change that color so that it doesn't confuse. This is the fill color, that is the stroke color. So you can check from here, sorry, you can check from here. This is the stroke color and that is the fill color. The stroke color appears like it has some space in the middle. So what is outside, what is colored in red is the outline. Then what is colored in this, is it blue, sky blue? Then that is the fill color. You can change the points like to appear bigger or smaller, like that. You can keep changing. Yeah, so don't confuse between the fill color and the stroke color. You can always swap from here. Then I should show you how to save your work. So these are the colors. You can pick your colors from here. You can identify, and you can see also the number of colors that this shape is made up of. And then also the layers. I still remind you again to work with the layers because layers are very important. They help you to edit your individual work. If you use only one layer for the whole project, then it may be hard for you at the end. So try using different layers. Try creating layers, especially when you come up with something or when you want to edit something in your document. So you can create a new layer. You have for the stroke, you can change like that. So how do you save your work? So you go to File, then Save This, especially if you're saving for the first time, and make sure that you are saving under its file extension. If you want to go back to it later and save it, then you save under its file extension. So you give it a title, let's say Joy, and then you can now identify like it's InDesign CC 2014. So once I save this work, I should get back to it later and save it. If you save under, let's say JPG or another format, then you may not re-edit later. You may not go back to it later and edit your work. So unless you, maybe you have completed your work, is when you can now save under another file extension. But if you're required to save your work with the raw files, then you use its file extension. If it's InDesign, then it's .inv. Thank you. Have a good evening and all the best as you try to use some of these tools.